maybe let me allow Minister Mtunu, he wants to deal with the charges. What are we charging people with who have been arrested? They are in his custody. No, sit here.
No. I'll take the mic.
Sit here. These people want to hear you. And I want the country out there to hear you, Minister.
Now, may I inform you that this is Dr. Aaron Mtsoleti. Thank you very much, colleagues. Just 2 points, and then I'll then ask the police to respond directly. Before last night and before we came here, we had a conversation amongst ourselves that even before we come here for this press briefing, it would be proper and it would be respectable that we properly inform the families that are affected in this conversation about the outcome that Minister Mtsoleti has just reported elaborately on. This we did out of respect of the families. We know they are grieving. We know it is painful. And I did speak to General Mtombeni after meeting the families about their reaction. Indeed, like in all circumstances involving death, it was quite a somber situation in the morning. But however, we had to proceed, and we are here. And in relation to the 4 charges, 2 journalists have asked the same question. What are the charges? Makwete, or Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mtombeni, you want to come here as per instruction?
I'll adjust the instruction, Minister.
You have to.
I told you.
Sorry. Thank you, Minister. Thank you very much, the 2 ministers present here, the Deputy Minister, and Dr. Natal, which we frequently speak, and even yesterday night after our meeting. I think I have to respond on the 4 people who were arrested, rightful so, said by the Minister of Health that we had integrated operation. This operation included the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries and Forestry, Environmental Health, the National Institute for Communicable Disease, the Border Management, Gauteng Department of Health, and Law Enforcement. On Thursday, we were of course in Naledi, and the chemicals were found, and then we were led to a mall in Johannesburg, as the Minister rightfully indicated. So in that mall, we found 4 individuals who were subsequently arrested. The question is, what for? The suspects were arrested and charged for selling, amongst other things, fertilizer, farm feed, agriculture remedy, stock remedy, not registered. We subsequently took them to Johannesburg Central Police Station. We charged them under those act as directed by Department of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries, and as an integrated team, we were also advised by the department that these suspects could be released. On warning, we released them on J534. They ultimately paid 2,000 rand admission of guilty. The reason is that the suspects be released as they are not the manufacturers for those chemicals. I should think, ministers, that's what I'm supposed to be responding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, the first question from SABC, you say carbamide was found in the spaza shops. No, the swabs from the spaza shops were still waiting for the results. They've been sent to the National Health Laboratory Services. The result we got was from the toxicology laboratories. They are different. Toxicology laboratories are only 4 in the country, in Johannesburg, Pretoria, Cape Town, and Durban. And they are the ones who released this report about poisoning because that's their work. But for the swabs that were taken in the spaza shops, they were sent to National Health Laboratory Services. We are still waiting. There are 2 questions here about this issue of organophosphate. As I said, they are pesticides and they are used widely in agriculture. I want to emphasize, organophosphate are not supposed to be used routinely in domestic settings. I want to emphasize that. Part of the reason why people were arrested selling them. Organophosphate are not just supposed to be found among people in domestic settings. They are supposed to be utilized in specific settings away from people. And I think the Department of Agriculture will come and explain this. The little knowledge I have is that to use an organophosphate, you need a special certificate from the Department of Agriculture because of the dangers that it poses. So when you ask me in what items is it found in the house, it's not supposed to. It's not a domestic poison. Maybe let me also explain this fact medically. I'm not sure whether it's law or just a practice, but when I grew up in medicine, one of the things I learned is that it is designed that any poison you use to kill pests or whatever domestically is not supposed to kill human beings. That is the golden rule, because you can't put a poison in a house when you know that it can kill human beings and we have got children, because I've defined the behavior of children, hand to mouth and hand to object. So for that reason, people who manufacture domestic poisons are by law instructed to make them weak. For instance, these pesticides are usually used to kill rodents. Rodents domestically are killed by latex. People don't like it because latex is weak. And it has been made to be weak so that it doesn't kill anybody. Any person who has seen a piece of latex, it may look like sweets or yes, to children. When I was still running my practice, I used to have mothers coming crying and carrying a piece of latex and say the child has ingested this. And I tell them, no, relax, nothing is going to happen. Because a child has to ingest a lot of latex for them to be affected, because it's a domestic poison. Not so with organophosphate. That's why they mustn't be found among people readily without any care, especially a certificate given by the Department of Agriculture. I'm going to try and make them explain that. The issue of what happened to the 4 people arrested has been done. It does not mean they are not guilty. They are selling a substance to people which is not supposed to be there. I got fearful when I heard that some of these organophosphates are also sold at old age payout points for killing pests. That's very dangerous and scary, and we're still going to look into that very carefully. Yolisa, you said people are still waiting for postmortems. I'm not aware of that. And please give us the details. We'll check with the relevant people who are supposed to do such postmortems. I'm hearing this for the first time. The Khomotso, you also ask the same question, where is organophosphate found? It is not supposed to be found ordinarily in domestic substances. I know sometimes they mix it in paint and all that, but I want you to understand it. Organophosphate is not a substance that must really be used domestically. Now, why are spaza shops buying it? Our theory is, until we are proven otherwise, is that they are using it as pesticides to kill rats, specifically because I want to believe that there are rats in quite a number of spaza shops, since communities, it's also been sold to communities for killing rats, whereby they are not preferring Ratex. So we believe it came into spaza shop in that manner, but as I'm saying, we still have to prove scientifically its presence there. Benedict from E-News, whether if spaza shop owners are found, they will be charged. If once we make a link, yes. If we are able to make this link by saying we found this organophosphate in the stomachs of diseased children, and we also trace it to a spaza shop, it's found in your shop, and we know they did buy that shop, that's a link. We are still making that link. Now, the issue of survival rate, Dr. Meyer, I don't know whether, because I know that survival rates in any form of poisoning depend, number one, how soon do you reach a health institution, and how soon is an antidote administered, and how soon is supportive treatment also administered. But I would like to give to Dr. Maya.
Thanks, Minister. It also depends on the dose. You get acute poisoning and you get chronic poisoning. So acute is over a short period of time, immediate ingestion, long-term, chronic, long-term slow dose exposure, and also in acute situation, how much you consume. If you consume a very little or a lot. So I think the end organ damage to organs also will depend on the mortality related to that. Thank you.
You know, I want to give you a story just to understand how easy is it for people to be affected by organophosphate. I've got a younger brother. He's a professor now of dermatology in Sefako Makhato. At the time I entered Parliament, he took over my practice, and so he used to work in one of the rural hospitals doing sessions there. He arrived there one day to find half a village on the ground in the hospital, vomiting, foaming at the mouth, diarrhea, everything. Nurses were already treating for cholera. Because he was experienced, he detected the smell of organophosphate, and he rushed to theater to get organophosphate. To get atropine, and started treating them. The question is, how did that half the village got in contact with organophosphate? So he went to investigate. In that village, he snapped to a hospital called St. Rita's. He found that there's a Makarapa there. Makarapa are migrant laborers, as you know, who's working here in Johannesburg, who came with a truck full of empty drums, water drums. People in rural areas like storing rainwater in drums. And he saw them, and that whole village bought them. Those drums were carrying organophosphate in agriculture. And the whole village nearly perished just because of that. So I just want to explain that there are very methods which inadvertently may actually kill people. If he didn't arrive in hospital on time, they were all gone because they were treating for cholera, and cholera was not involved. And there was no way, the poison was going to stop doing its work if there was no antidote. They have to rush to the neighboring hospitals there to get atropine, because we usually use it in theater. 2 weeks ago, I advised the Department of Health to start buying a lot of atropine in case, while we are still fighting this issue. Thank you very much.
Minister, you hinted that you may give colleagues from agriculture to clarify the issue of pesticides.
Organophosphate, how does you have to come here? It's very important. We are summoning you to explain to the nation the licensing, how it's found, and all that. How does it come amongst us? Yes.
Morning. The key to any product is a label. If a product doesn't have a label, remember now the label gives an instruction how to use a product. It guides, there are also some precautionary measures that you need to take against a particular product. So organophosphate basically are meant to be used out in the field based on an issue related to pests that are more in crop production. Now, people remember now in terms of issue of them being categorized as hazardous products. At the end of the day is that there are restrictions because based on also on the label itself, the label will indicate where to use it. If a label says to you, you can use it in production area, whether it's citrus or whatever, but why do you use it at the household level? Normally we got the so-called pest control operators who offer a service. They are registered under Act 36 of 1947, which is the same act that we are talking about, Fertilizer, Farm Feeds, Agricultural Remedy, and Stock Remedy Act. Those are the people who have been trained to make use of these particular products. Now, those restricted products, then they need to be handled by somebody who have been trained to utilize them. So the question was, how did it end up where it is today? It's still a mystery, and that's something that we're still investigating. I hope I've answered.
Licensing. Licensing of anybody to use it.
Remember now, in terms of, like I indicated, in terms of a pest control operator, this person have to go on a particular training, then the department will issue a certificate to indicate that this person can be able to, for commercial purposes, be able to offer the service because he has been trained for that particular purpose.
Maybe when we settle, I've got 2 questions. Maybe just also to clarify that this media briefing is live streamed, so people across the country, the other journalists who are following us. But I've got only 2 questions. That one is directed to SAPS, one is directed to health. From Business Day, the journalist is Tamakan. Number 1, can you explain why NAT joints determined that the recent increase in reports of children falling ill after eating apparently contaminated food was potentially a matter of national security threat?
No, I can answer that because I've answered it many times before.
Okay. The second, maybe
at the time NAT joints took this decision, we did not know what was happening. It was just reported that all over the country, children are sick, they are being rushed to court. That's enough to cause national security threat. And that's why NAT joints said this work need to be coordinated, as we are coordinated now, and you can see the results.
The last one, can you provide an update on government's efforts to investigate other food-related illness among school children in other locations, not only in Naledi?
Well, maybe it's important for us to explain this. As far as we are concerned, there's no evidence to link this with the school nutrition program all over the country. We have completely excluded it, maybe until we find evidence. At the moment, we don't have it. All the kids who got sick at school did not eat from the nutritional program of the school. They go out of the gate and buy something from hawkers. As we told you, our biggest fear is that we had that this organophosphate, which in Sepedi is called ralipirime, is actually being sold by hawkers. But the school nutrition program has not caused any of the problems. Until we gather further evidence, it will remain so. If we get any more evidence about that, we'll inform you.
Thank you very much. Any
Just one addition.
Yes.
On the side of caution, one of these days I saw, I think it was a principal in Mpumalanga, actually warning parents, cautioning them rather, to say, let us discourage children from doing exactly what Dr. Msoleli is talking about. It rather goes to parents to warn their children, don't go outside the gate, buy whatever, particularly at this point in time, was going to cause us a lot of trouble. We take this opportunity once more that on our behalf, on behalf of all of us, we do want to sympathize with families who have lost children and those who have gone to hospital, and all of them. We are doing all what we're doing to actually be on the safer side as soon as possible. But our sympathies to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any last comment, input, statement from the Minister of Small Business and Development?
Thank you so much, Program Director, and greetings to all. Probably on the business side of the matters that you've just spoken about was this continued reference to spaza shops and now hawkers. You may be wondering what is it that government is doing in order to make sure that those that may be found on the wrong. And this is why we said there's a need for us to work with other departments in terms of raising awareness on matters like this. Because spaza shops source food from distributors and food manufacturers. Whether it's hawkers or whoever, they don't produce the food. Of course, it is different when they are found to have a product that they have bought and in their space, which requires raising awareness on the things that they can buy and those that they can't buy. Those that they have to buy and require certain compliance measures, they have to be compliant. And this is why we are working with the different departments and the municipalities, including the National Consumer Commission, to raise awareness to our own constituency. We have set up the Township Economy Task Force that is made of food manufacturers themselves, because they are the ones that have distributors in the different provinces and municipalities. So we brought them on board, the Consumer Goods Council of South Africa, the National Consumer Council, and the relevant departments to say, all of us must play our part. You've got to give us certainty and assurance that the food that you are supplying to our constituents, and in this context, the spaza shops meets the standards. Of course, we are aware that there are those that are manufacturing illegally, and this is something, again, that we have said as government, we're joining hands with the respective department, whether you talk about Home Affairs or the Department of Employment and Labor, the district municipalities and health for environmental inspections. And this is what we're trying to do to minimize the escalation of the challenges that we may encounter as we move forward. It's not something that we established because there's these recent incidents. It has been ongoing. We set up the team last year. In October, they've had their different meetings. They are finalizing certain things because these matters are legislated, which is why the task force agreed that there's a need for us to therefore go directly and work with the municipalities that are concerned. To assist spaza shops with registrations, because it is important that they be registered so that we can know in a particular street there are so many spaza shops and who's running them. We're working with the ward councillors, with the CDWs, including the wholesale and retail SETA, which has just sponsored appointment of 200 unemployed graduates to complement the existing personnel at the local level, because we are appreciative of the challenges that the municipalities face as they are supposed to be doing this work. So we're doing this in order to beef up capacity of government, to make sure that we address the matters holistically, whilst others are looking at the health aspect, at the criminal aspect, but there's also that aspect that requires the citizens themselves and the communities to be the voice of their own children by raising these matters with the respective authorities, including highlighting the wrongs that they see. When you have rented space out to a person for living, the person shouldn't be producing food unless it's food to be eaten at home. But if it's for commercial purposes, it means there's something wrong that you are doing, whether that person is a South African or a non-South African, which is a matter that is clearly stipulated again. If you look at what is it that South Africans can do to assist legal foreigners that are trading in South Africa, and what is that they cannot do And all of us, colleagues, I think it is important that we try to raise that caution to say we should really think about the actions that we are taking. Not that we are not aware that people must make profit, but there's lives that we must always consider, because it may not be your child, it may not be you today, but it can be your grandchild if you're not thinking about the communities that you are selling to. So we've called upon all those that are involved in terms of our constituency to say they must exercise caution when it comes to this, but we continue to raise awareness with the respective bodies. Let me pause there.
Yeah, I was asking Foster if he has distributed this speech I was reading here. I want to appeal to journalists who have read it. There's a terrible, terrible mistake there in the last paragraph. I'm just noticing it now. We wish to advise that if faced with a possible organophosphate poisoning, doctors need to use, it's supposed to be aflatox. That is the herb, but it's written aflatoxin there. Yes. Now, aflatoxin is a very dangerous chemical which is a carcinogen. It's found in molds. I think the person who was preparing the speech, when I said aflatox, he went to Google aflatoxin, and Google must say, please cancel it. It's aflatox, because it says people must use aflatoxin, meaning we are asking people to use a poison. Yes, it's aflatox. Aflatox is an herb that will tell them what to do. When they see the symptoms, it will tell them what they are likely to do. It will also give them the dosage of atropine, how they titrate it in the human being per body weight, etc. So it's aflatox, AFRITOX, not aflatox. Please. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister, for that clarity. Members of the media and fellow colleagues and members of the panel, I'm going to officially declare, I'm not going to take the second round precisely because some of the members of the panel here, it's exactly 10:15. They're supposed to be boarding an international flight. In fact, they're late. So, but we will see how for them to ensure that they don't miss that flight. So, we apologize for this, but we'll continue to engage with you outside this formal media briefing. So, we've got all the experts and other leaders who are here. We'll continue to engage with you to clarify this matter going forward. On that note, I'm going to officially adjourn this media briefing under the guidance of our political principals.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.